Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer. Now, if you're around 10 years old right now, you're probably starting to notice just how busy and, well, loud the world can be, right? Today, we're looking at a pretty epic choice. I like to call it the ultimate trade. It's this massive, everyday battle between all the normal, earthly stuff that just constantly grabs our attention and the incredible, eternal realities of heaven. It's literally a battle for your focus, and it is happening right inside your own mind every single day. So, let me ask you a question. Do you ever catch yourself totally consumed by thoughts like, hey, what's for dinner tonight? Or what should I wear to school tomorrow? Or maybe even, what game am I going to play later? Honestly, it's completely normal. Those questions pop into our heads all day long. Actually, for most of us, these everyday questions take up almost all of our brain power. But as we'll see in the text we're analyzing today, if those questions are the absolute only things we ever think about, we might be, walking right into a trap. Now, the text makes something very, very clear right from the jump. God does not want us to be careless. He doesn't want us to just ignore our health or stop taking care of the basic things we need to survive, like food and clothes. Taking care of your health is a really good thing. But there's a huge difference between taking care of your basic needs and letting the world absorb absolutely all of your thoughts and affections. When our brains are completely filled up with only earthly stuff, something incredibly important gets completely lost from our sight. We can actually call this the great distraction. The text explains that when everyday earthly concerns just take over your mind, eternal realities get lost sight of. Think about it. When your mind is only focused on the stuff right in front of you, like the newest toy, the next meal, the coolest clothes, your mind actually becomes what the author calls common. It basically just bears the image of the earthly. Instead of being trained to think high, elevated thoughts about eternity, your mind just gets stuck in the mud of the everyday. And here's the thing, this distraction, it's not an accident. The source text actually calls this evil the work of Satan. But notice how the adversary doesn't usually show up looking like some obvious monster with horns or claws. No way. Instead, he might look like a totally normal person, or even an angel of light. He works incredibly quietly to capture your focus with completely everyday things, so you totally forget to look up at heaven. He's just trying to trick your focus with normal stuff. Now, what's really interesting here is how perfectly the Bible describes this exact trap. Matthew 6:31 says, "Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or wherewithal," which just means how shall we be clothed. It's pointing right at our human tendency to just obsess over our temporal physical needs. It's a direct warning to stop letting those everyday questions absolutely dominate our entire existence. To really help us picture what our distracted minds look like, the text gives us this amazing comparison. I want you to imagine a super busy marketplace. It is packed, it is full of bustling activity, and it's incredibly loud with the voices of traders just shouting over each other. That is exactly what our minds are like when we're obsessed with the world. All this worldly noise creates what the text calls a spell of infatuation. It literally hypnotizes us. We get so caught up in the hustle and bustle that we totally forget there's a whole universe outside the marketplace. But then, someone steps right into that dense, loud crowd. The text introduces Jesus as the great teacher. He arrives right in the middle of our noisy minds, and he brings a warning that cuts through the noise like the trump or a loud trumpet blast of God. And his goal? It's to break that spell of distraction. He steps in to give us a zoomed-out view of the future world. He presents the actual claims of God and heaven, bringing them right into our direct line of sight. Jesus sees that the chambers of the mind are filled up with things that defile and distract us. So, what does he do? Well, he wants to clear out all that junk. The text paints this beautiful picture of Jesus wanting our minds to become familiar with the attractions of heaven, so that memory's hall be hung with pictures of celestial and eternal loveliness. Just imagine walking through the hallways of your own brain, and instead of seeing posters of just video games or clothes, you see striking, beautiful pictures of eternal goodness. And this brilliantly illustrates a really huge choice we have. We've got temporal concerns on one hand, the passing things like food, clothes, and chores. And then we have eternal realities on the other, things like God's goodness and celestial beauty. Jesus places God right at the center to show us this massive contrast between the two. He wants to deeply impress this contrast upon your mind so that it absorbs your heart, your soul, and your entire being. To really drive this point home, the great teacher asks the ultimate question. Mark 8:36 and 37 says, "What shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall he give in exchange for his soul?" Just think about that for a second. What good is it if you get every single temporal thing you ever wanted? All the money, all the popularity, literally the coolest stuff in the entire world. If you trade away your own eternal soul to get it, that's for sure the worst trade you could ever make. So, let's look at how this actually builds into our everyday habits. Too often we give like 90% of our brain power to temporal concerns, and maybe if we're super lucky, 10% to eternal realities. We give earthly things the supremacy. But Jesus wants us to give earthly things a subordinate place, which basically means they get put in the back seat. That means flipping the focus. You absolutely still take care of everyday stuff, but your biggest focus, your main brain power, goes toward eternity. So the crucial point is this. When you actually shift your affections to God and the future life, everything changes. You stop chasing what the text calls life's vanities, those empty, passing things of the world that just won't last. Instead, God invests your life with the highest responsibilities. You aren't just living for the next meal or the next fun activity anymore. You are living for something massive. You're living for eternity. If we boil all of this down from our source material into 3 super clear steps for you to use today, it looks exactly like this. Step 1, provide for your health. Eat your veggies, take care of your body, and don't take your health for granted. Step 2, look at the pictures of heaven. Train your mind to think elevated thoughts about eternal loveliness, so it doesn't get distracted by that noisy marketplace. And step 3, live to a purpose. Separate yourself from life's vanities and take on those truly high responsibilities. It is totally possible to break the spell of the marketplace, but it takes real focus. So I want to leave you with this question to think about today. What is one eternal reality you can focus your mind on today to live to a purpose? Just think about how you can hang just one beautiful picture of heaven in your memories hall today. All right, thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we keep learning and exploring together.